Hey everyone, Dr. Clavio here, just doing our series of tutorial videos trying to help you create media from your very own home and without having to necessarily check equipment out, just using what you've got at your disposal. And what we're going to use this time is this bad boy, an iPhone. I'm going to show you how to create better video and picture quality on the iPhone. So this is a pretty straightforward procedure. Some of you may already know how it's done, but if not, use this video to help yourselves out. So let me go ahead and get this shared first of all. And looks like got to get some screen mirroring going here. And there we go. So here we have the iPhone screen. And here's our regular, main window. So what we're working on here is we want to have better video quality than what we've already got set up. And most people don't even know that this is a possibility. But if you hit settings, you're going to scroll down through your settings. And what you want to do is go all the way down to camera. So here's camera right here. Now, there's a bunch of different things you can do with your camera settings. You can turn on or off a grid when you're taking photos or doing video. You can scan QR codes, which is nice. But the ones that we really want to focus on are record video and formats to start with. So record video, I've got mine up pretty high. I've got mine recording at 4K at 30 FPS. Now I've got an iPhone X. You should have this capability even if you've got an older iPhone, and certainly if you have a newer iPhone. The difference between the different options here is essentially the lower the number, the more grainy your video is going to be, particularly when you are engaging in trying to do video in lower light levels. And so a lot of times when you start off with this for space saving purposes, they'll have the video quality for recording set at like 1080p at 30 FPS. And what I would suggest you do if you want to get better quality video across the board is bump that up to 4K at 30 FPS. That's going to be more frames per second, and it's going to provide a lot more pixels, because that's ultimately what that number is. 720p at 720 pixels, 1080p. 4K is 4000. So it's a couple of levels up from what 1080 is. Now the files are bigger, so if you don't have a lot of space on your iPhone, you might have to delete some photos, or you might have to, make more room. What I do is I just offload all my stuff onto hard drives or portable hard drives so that I have enough room to shoot video. But you can see what the amount is size-wise for a minute of video at each of those settings. You also want to try to click on that auto low light FPS. If you're shooting in lower light, you want to drop the frames per second. That'll improve the overall look of the video. So that's how you do that. You can also change the slow-mo level that you're shooting at. And again, that, it's a situation where, you can either shoot at the default, which is a lower resolution quality, but a higher frames per second, or you can bump that up and have a higher resolution at that same quality, or drop the frames per second, but up the overall quality. What I would suggest you do is try shooting video with each of these settings and see what difference it makes in terms of how it looks on your phone, how it looks when you export it to a computer, because that's going to be the thing that helps you best understand, what exactly the differences are going to be. The other thing you want to keep an eye on with this as you go through camera is the format section. Now, what I would suggest you do is switch it to most compatible, because most compatible is going to give you files that are a lot easier to move around. High efficiency is intended to drop the file size. And, Apple has this proprietary format that's HEIF, which you can use if you're just using a Mac. It's not as simple for me. It's a little more complicated because I have an iPhone, but then I do all my editing on a PC. So I really need it in JPEG or H.264. JPEG for pictures, and H.264, which ends up being MP4 for those of you who are tracking. That's what that ends up being, and that's what you want because it's a lot easier to edit. So I would suggest moving that to most compatible. It will be bigger file sizes, but you'll be able to use it in more places. So that's really all there is to it. The one other thing I wanted to point out, though, when you go to camera and you're just on photo, you can see I've got, we'll use this wine opener as an example. One of the things that sometimes people struggle with is they'll get a bunch of those motion movement items on their camera when they take a photo. So they'll take the photo and then there'll be like that other file, or when you look at the photo on your phone, you'll see like the second or two of motion before or after. You can actually turn that off by hitting that button up in the upper left, the one that I just had made yellow, where it goes live. If you turn that off, it's not going to record that little snippet of video on either side. So that can be helpful if you don't want to have those items on your phone, if you just want to focus on just taking pictures and not worrying about anything else. So anyway, real quick how-to there, but hopefully that gives you a better understanding of how to change the video settings on your phone and what sort of an impact that might have in terms of file size, in terms of quality of video, things like that. So we'll continue with these tutorials throughout the course of the next couple of weeks. And if you've got any questions, just hit me up on Twitter @DrGC. Thanks so much and have a great weekend.